Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 51. Never forgive, never forget. Or as I should have said, never forget, never forgive. I think I said that. Well, welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James. I'm still fuming, and I know some of y'all probably saw my Facebook post, several of them, but man, I'm still hot about what happened on yesterday, August 26th. Wow. Before we get started, don't forget, if you're watching this for the first time, especially like on Facebook, people on Facebook will just click like and just move on. If you watch my podcast or listen to my podcast on Rumble, on the upper right hand corner, you can click subscribe, and you can subscribe to the JP8 Report. On Podbean, you can sign up and follow, and on YouTube, you can do the same thing and click the little bell right beside it, and so you can get notifications when I publish. Okay. This is episode 51. I don't know how long this one will go. I try to keep it within the 30 minutes, which I usually allot for a podcast. I got a lot of stuff just rambling around in my head right now, and it just drives me nuts about what we just saw yesterday. And I had some notes written up for the day for this one. And, the president yesterday was saying, we will never forget, we will never forgive, we will never forget. Um, you know, that's our motto, okay? Well, he said we will not. We say never forget, never forgive, okay? You can say that and look at it in a different tone. I'm a Christian, and we should always be in a forgivable mood, okay? Always forgive our trespassers, as it says in the Lord's Prayer. This was horrible what happened yesterday. There was 10 Marines killed, a Navy corpsman killed, and 2 U.S. soldiers killed. There were 18 wounded, and we think that's horrible. That's 18 plus 13 is 31. But there were 95 Afghans killed at that Abbey Gate in that Baron Hotel yesterday. 95 civilians from a suicide bomber and a VBIED. Well, I heard it was a VBIED, and then I also heard it was 2 suicide bombers. Okay, there was 160 injured Afghan civilians also. That was a terrible loss of life yesterday, all because we advertised our exit and bottlenosed ourselves into an undefensible airport with one runway. We're lucky they didn't hit us with Katyusha rockets and damage the runway where nobody could get out, and then they can pick off the airplanes on the landing strip. 13 dead U.S. military members. He said yesterday he was sticking to the August 31st deadline. So when you look at the August 31st deadline, how's he going to get out all the remaining Americans? We're hearing about people in Kabul being evac'd out. But what if you got people in Helmand province or Herat or up in the Bagram area, and they can't, and Mazar Sharif, and they can't get in to Kabul to get one of those aircraft out? What are we going to do after August 31st? I heard that the Qatar military is going to continue to fly people out of the airport. I got news for you. The Taliban are probably going to lock down that country right after we leave, and nobody's going to get out. And we got people that are going to be held hostage for a long time until I guess, pay off the Taliban government. They're not even a Taliban government. Who are we fooling that we are recognizing them as a legitimate government of Afghanistan? You know what? The people there have a constitution and a legitimate form of government. Yeah, their president flew. He thought he was going to be killed, which he should have stood there with his men and um, gave him the morale lift that they needed to do the fight. But he didn't. He flew. So if the president effectively resigns, he's followed up by his vice president. So in the Afghan constitution, if the president of Afghanistan is unable to um, administer his government, the first vice president becomes the acting president. Well, the first vice president didn't leave. He didn't fly. He didn't die. He relocated inside the country. He's in the Pajur province, which is about 40 miles north of, or not even of Kabul. He is there with Masoud's son. Masoud was killed 2 days before 9/11. Okay, he was the leader of the Northern Alliance. They're now calling themselves the National Resistance Front. And from what I heard last night, we had Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. I saw him on TV. He said that movement is doubling in size every day. So we may think Afghan is over, but there's a ray of sunshine out there. And as long as they can get arms and food and keep having soldiers come in, there's going to be a fight against the Taliban. On a sad note, that we just supply the Taliban with a decade's worth of weapons. Is 65,000 vehicles, 600,000 weapons, and 205 aircraft. How in the world, why? We're going to leave 65,000 vehicles. The worst part is the weapons and the aircraft. They could be used against us or other people and civilians. Our president acts like it's no big deal. I like what people are doing. I know people call it Monday morning quarterbacking. Why didn't you get the American civilians out first? And why didn't you get our allies out? Then why didn't you get our equipment out in a retrograde operation and then American soldiers leave last? Why did we get rid of Bagram Air Base? One of the most secure air bases in the world. I was there. All but 30 days of my entire tour in Afghanistan, I was at Bagram. And I know the terrain of Bagram. Surrounded by mountains on three sides. It's only one way in, one way out. And it is very defendable. What we have going on in regards to Bagram, Biden, evidently the military told them they wanted to keep Bagram open. Smart move. Well, President told them you can only have 600 Marines. Okay, please, someone comment on this podcast that's been to Bagram besides me. I could do a 10-mile run all the way around Bagram. 10 miles. Been there, done that. Ruck marches and runs. How are you going to defend that with 600 Marines? Because you say, well, it's 600 Marines, it's a whole battalion. Dude, look at it. You can't use everyone 24/7. You have to break down in shifts. So let's put it like this. You probably have 200 Marines available to you at any given time for a night shift and a day shift. Shift 1, shift 2, maybe even 3 shifts, okay? Break it down. When you have your command and control element, you have your QRF, which is quick reaction force. You can't defend that. They went to him multiple times, and then they said, well, we're going to fall back on Kabul. they had no other choice in the matter. Just a second. So they fall back on Kabul. Well, the problem with Kabul, right now you have about 5,600 soldiers and Marines there in a full defensive posture. And this nonsense happened yesterday with some ISIS network that got from where they're located at, got to Kabul, got through the Taliban checkpoints, which, if you know anyone there are checkpoints all over the city. Now, how did two men with a suicide vest get through the multiple Taliban checkpoints unless the Taliban said, let them through? They can do our dirty work and we won't be blamed for it. They will. They'll be dead anyway. So no one can do anything about it. So they slide through Taliban checkpoints, get to close to the Abbey Gate and detonate. Man, where's our QRF? Oh, I'm sorry. We're in a defensive posture. We hardly have enough troops to do anything besides, we have to secure that entire airport. There should have been a company of QRF on standby, deployable at a moment's notice. But they can't leave the wire. And then we drop our pants because we take a Chinook and go 200 meters from the perimeter to that Baron Hotel to pick up 169 Americans and bring them another 200 meters into the airport. Last time I checked, that's a soft target. And you're like, oh my goodness. If they're taking Americans from there, let's get ready for them. And they'd use it as a target and blew it up, hoping they could catch some Americans there. They didn't. The Marines and the soldiers that were killed were over on the perimeter fence. But how did they get in there? The president is not using the military the way he should be using it because he's ineffective. He's weak. He's feeble. He has a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and a Department of Defense secretary that don't know. They're worried about other things besides what it means to being a soldier. And if General Austin has any ounce of loyalty to the military left inside of him, after what we just went through just now, he should resign. He should, Mr. President, it's been an honor serving you, but I cannot stand by and take this rhetoric from your ill-fated decisions of disregarding our advice to you, which would have saved American soldiers' lives and lives of the Afghan civilians out there. Anthony Blinken, oh my goodness, he doesn't need anything. I wouldn't let him resign. You know what? I would impeach his butt because he's gotten people killed. He's a hack. He worked for President Obama, which is probably the puppeteer, but he worked for Obama, and now he's the Secretary of State. So he was an assistant under Obama, Assistant Secretary of State. So he worked for probably Hillary Clinton or John Kerry. Those are model citizens. Okay, egotistical rich people that don't care about a person, or they'll use Democrats for what they want and throw them to the side. And most of these Democrats in our country are so feeble-minded that, we'll just vote for the Democrat again and get used again, get ate up and thrown. And while soldiers get thrown in the meat grinder, doing our job because we raise our right hand to faithfully execute, the support and defend the Constitution. What are we doing? The president was talking about, when we're gone, we can depend on our over-the-horizon capabilities. Do you even know what you're talking about? Are you watching too much Star Wars or Star Trek? Over the horizon. How in the world are you going to get on-the-ground assessments of what's going on when our military's gone, our intelligence is gone, our embassy's gone, and you gotta. There's nothing within 1,500 miles of what's going. And then, even if we did know what was going on, how do you propose we get to it? We're going to violate Pakistani airspace. We're going to violate Indian airspace. We're going to violate Chinese airspace. We're going to violate Kazakhstan airspace, Russian airspace. You tell me. We're going to cause an act of war to get to people in Afghanistan. How would you like that to be explained to the American people, sir? So when we're gone out of Afghanistan, those air corridors are going to be closed. And we have no offensive capability at that point in time. Who are these advisors to the president? Do they know what's going on? Are these Boy Scouts? Well, I'm giving them too much credit because the Boy Scouts are smart. And then after this is done, and we leave Afghanistan in shame, which I'm not even watching the news right now. I hope nothing else has happened. But after we get out with our tails between our legs, what's happening then? How about being a citizen in Taiwan or Estonia or the Ukraine? How about South Korea? Are we going to stand by our agreements there? Or say it's not our problem anymore? But even though we have mutual defense agreements with all those places, well, except for the Ukraine, but we should be arming them. Vladimir Putin probably just like, I can't wait till I can march my armies in there and take them over. If Estonia got overran by the Russian army, would we stand by our NATO agreement? Would we? There's Section 5 or Article 5. I can't remember which one they call. Besides that, but, man, over the horizon, man, you got to be kidding. Unless we have some kinetic satellite weapons that can just drop them from the space. I've served my country for 25 years. I served under President Reagan, the first President Bush, Clinton, the second President Bush, Obama, and Trump. No, wait a minute. I retired while Obama was president. Man, I would really put some years under my belt if I continue to serve. I don't know. I've seen some horrific things happen in my time, militarily, and this one takes the cake because it was completely preventable in what happened. If we were able to secure Bagram, this would have never happened. Well, women might never have happened. You can't say never, okay? Because the Russian gate and Bagram has been breached before, back in 2010, but they didn't get very far, okay? So they're probably all looking around for their 72 virgins right now. What happened? We did what we were supposed to do. If you're like me, you're still fuming about what happened. It's unbelievable. I spent 13 months of my life down there in Bagram, in Kabul. I was only in Kabul a day. I was at an air terminal, waiting. And then I spent a month in CAF. Was it worth it for the 2,500 and so military that died bled and died in that country, and the thousands that were wounded, and all of us that came home scarred from all of our service. Think about it. There's a whole lot of people out there that's never served a day of their life in uniform, and they support us, but there's some that really don't care. My mom, she passed away in 2013, and all but probably the last 10 years of her life, she very much disliked the military because she was a bleeding heart liberal. Okay, and she let me know that. We didn't know where she lived when I joined the Army, so my dad was the only one that had to give parental consent for me to join because I was 17. It's a whole different story. You'll laugh if you ever heard that one. Well, I'll tell you real quick. Okay, we got to have a little bit of a light moment. So I'm 17, joined the Army Reserve. I was a junior in high school. And I had a PC so I could join because I was 17. So we're going on a recruiting station to sign PC. That's page 3 on the enlistment form, I believe. Or, yeah, I think it is. But, so we get down there. I'm right there beside my dad. Recruiter's in front of me. And he tells my dad everything he needs to sign and stuff. And he said, "Hey, James, are you sure you want to do this?" And before I could even say yes, he had already signed parental consent. Like, wow, really? What if I would have said no? But best decision I ever made because I love being a soldier. That's all I ever wanted to be. The reason why I joined the Army was to serve my country. I had watched Red Dawn. I loved it so much. I'm like, hey, I'm going to join the Army. I'm going to go kill Russians. Never got to kill Russians, thank goodness. Because that would have been really, really bad. But, the war on terror, the long war is what it's called. Some people call it the forever war, but it's the long war. We were supposed to play the long game so we could win this. We played the short game because we got politicians that got cold feet and wanted to turn and run. And Joe Biden, like Robert Gates said, Secretary Gates said, he's on the wrong side of every foreign policy decision in the last 40 years. You can add this one to that list. And they got 13 soldiers killed. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I think Milley and Austin and Blinken all need to go. Biden, he needs to take that cognitive test, and if so, they need to do 25th Amendment to remove him from office. Kamala Harris, I'm sorry, people, but she'll be the president. She won't get reelected, or she won't get elected, because the American people will see straight through what the Democrats are doing to our country, and we're going to get our country back. In 2022, we're gonna win back the Congress. We are going to win back the Congress. Okay, but mark my word. Okay, there will, like I said, there will be between 275 and 300 Republicans in the House of Representatives, and hopefully we'll have a 53 vote or 54 vote majority in the House, in the Senate. I'm sorry. There needs to be, if President Biden is not 25th amendmented out, there needs to be some type of impeachment to hold him accountable. Maybe they're just holding on to him so he'll survive in office until January 22nd of 2023, and then go ahead and resign so Harris can try to win outright 2 terms in office. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Because under the Constitution, if he serves less than 2 years, she can only run once. If he serves more than 2 years, she can run twice. But she won't get elected anyway. She was supposed to campaign for Gavin Newsom in California because he's about to lose a recall petition in California. We'll see how that turns out on September 14th. So if you're in California and you're watching this, on that recall, vote yes recall, and then choose Larry Elder for president, for governor. He might make a good president too. But vote yes on recall, and then vote for Larry Elder for governor in California. Okay. Oh, and by the way, besides us being the laughing stock of the world now, because we got a very effective military being used ineffectively, who's in charge? Who's in charge? You know, you heard in the conference, the news conference yesterday, I was instructed these are the people I need to call on for ask questions. If he's the president of the United States, who in the world thinks that they can instruct the president to do anything? Like I told my wife last night, that what it should have been said was, Mr. President, this is our recommendation of people that you should be able to call on to ask questions. But if he told the whole world that's watching, I was instructed to read, here's my list of the people I was instructed to call upon, somebody's telling him what to do. That person needs to be exposed. That person needs to be held accountable because they're effectively conducting a coup against our government because they are the unelected person in our country. If that sounds right, I think I might have said that wrong. Because who is it? Rob Klein? Is it Susan Rice? Jen Psaki? Peppermint Patty, as Dan Bongino calls her now. I know, it's kind of funny, Peppermint Patty, but that does a disservice to Peppermint Patty, okay? If you don't know who Peppermint Patty is, watch some Snoopy shows, okay? Or Peanuts. Or is it President Obama? Pipelining everything to Rob Klein on what the president needs to do and how to do it. The Obama, the third term, as people were joking about it. You know, shadow governments are as unconstitutional as a coup, okay? So that person needs to be shown the door because evidently they gave bad advice to the President of the United States. I'm not going to forget about this, and neither should you. You know, but forgiveness is everything, but you never forget. You never forget. You're always in the fight, no matter what. We should have had a QRF on standby when that happened yesterday. But we don't have any offensive capability down there now. It's all defensive. And without a good offense, you don't have a good defense. Because all the enemy has to do is figure out a way to flank you and overrun you. And if they could have breached that gate, if somehow they were planning to breach the gate, which they've tried in Afghanistan when I was there, they could have killed tens of thousands of Afghanis and Americans. And we can't let them do that. We can't. So, I made it 30 minutes. Maybe I'll go out and do some work now. Oh yeah, I have to. But never forget what's going on. Never forget. 20 months we went without a single casualty in Afghanistan. In a blink of an eye, we took 13. There are going to be 10 Marine moms or spouses, and 2 Army moms or spouses, and 1 Navy parent or spouse are going to get visits today and tomorrow from casualty assistance officers, CAOs. And Their blood is on the president's hands, and we should never forget that. And don't let them forget that. Don't believe the hype. If they're a Democrat, vote against them. Get them out. We got to stop this nonsense from happening. Okay? You know, I'm steaming. There's a lot of stuff I wish I could say, but I'm not. Okay? Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast. And before I leave, if I could show this a little bit more. Look at that. JP8. Isn't that neat? I got that from Grunt Style. Let me see right here. Grunt Style. I was on the web the other day and I saw JP8. I'm like, oh my goodness, smells like freedom. I'm like, this is the JP8 report. My wife let me get one real quick. I got a couple of veteran shirts because she's a veteran. But yeah, look at that. Isn't that cool? JP8. Now I feel better. Time to get to work. Okay? I'll check y'all out all on the flip side. Remember, hold them accountable. But this is James Pierce with the JP8 Report. You can find me on Parler. Email me, jp8report@gmail.com. I'm out.